I still love it.
Welcome to Nerdist News Talks Back All Kings Considered Edition, now live on YouTube and Alpha. Now, last night was the 4th episode of Game of Thrones Season 7, which means it's time to break it down. So beware, like winter. Spoilers are here, and with that, let's get into it. Joining us today is managing editor for Nerdist.com and Winterfell's prodigal daughter, Alicia Lutz.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Oh, I can't wait to talk about this episode.
As well as mothership writer and author of the best-selling How to Train Your Three-Eyed Raven, Amy Vorpahl.
Oh my God.
Pretty good.
I'm obsessed with that.
And finally, Kyle Anderson, associate editor for Nerdist.com, and the man who is all Kyle Andersons that have ever lived and will ever live across time and space.
Yeah.
Oh, yay!
Even the one.
Even the one at EW?
Yeah, even him.
All the Kyles.
I'm all
I
of
wanted
them.
to. I wanted to clear, have a good point to applaud, but I couldn't applaud in the middle of the sentence when it's all Kyle Andersons. So anyway.
Thank you. Thank you. That's, in case you're
right.
wondering why Amy didn't clap, that's why.
So without spoiling, although we gave a spoiler warning,
Yeah,
so
we're
whatever.
Yeah, we're spoiling.
What did you think of episode 4, The Spoils of War? Kyle.
Stuff happens. I like this
Yes, it
season
does.
is getting to the point, and we're setting stuff up. And yeah, I mean, when you have a great reunion between characters, and then a battle that was like kind of an unexpected one. I wasn't expecting that level of battle right at this time. I thought it was great, and yeah, I'm cool with it being so short.
Cool.
Yeah.
Amy?
Yeah, I didn't even notice that it was short. I mean, I was watching with a bunch of friends and I was standing up, like I stood up about 5 times. And that's my version of like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, ah! So we'll get into it later, but my favorite part was my mommy Brienne fighting with little baby Arya.
That was a good scene. All right, Alicia?
Yeah, no, this is one of my favorite episodes of the series. I feel like from a character point of view, we just got so much good, delicious intrigue and development, and I am so happy. I was one of my best friends was in town this weekend, and we were both, this is the first time we've been able to watch Game of Thrones together ever, and so we were like, it's Arya, and like we were just like clapping and screaming, like so happy. It was just, it made me so happy. It made me so happy, which means everyone's gonna die next week.
Oh yeah, most likely. All right, well, my assessment is I dug it. All right, to the most show-stopping moment of the episode, and we finally got to see some dragon action, which was legit pretty cool. Dany decided to unleash a little dragon fury on the Lannister army and food supply. Do you think that this move was a little reckless? I'm gonna jump in and say at first, when I first saw it, I was like, oh yeah, smart. You get to show off your dragons, which was what your whole big deal was in the first place, even though Tyrion kind of talked you out of it. But you're also paying attention to Jon Snow saying, you don't want to go and like destroy King's Landing, because then you're just no much better than, you know, your father.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, destroying all that food and knowing about Jon and Dany needing the food for the White Walker and the long winter and all of this stuff, which I didn't really think about till later, I was like, oh damn, you kind of effed up a little bit.
From a war strategy point of view, the
strategies
best way
was great.
to break a line of defense is to go for their emotions, and lighting food on fire is a good way to say, soldiers, even if you survive, you're fucked anyway. So that's why I think they ultimately broke rank.
No, strategically, brilliant, but long term, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just breaks my heart how Dany does so many things right and well and reasoned and mannered. I think she listens to the right people. She does a lot of things that I think are smart strategically. This just feels like those moments where she's a little impulsive, she's a little too dragony, you know, she got a little too angry. Like, I think that she could have made a point, you know, I said this in my recap, I wish that she had just like flown across the 7 kingdoms
and, like,
with her dragons in tow, just and
like Top Gun style?
Yeah, maybe took out 1 or 2 things strategically, but didn't just go ham on these motherfuckers. Like, look at her face in those moments when she was riding Drogon, like, this is where the fine line between hero and villain really lies, is within Dany, because she thinks she's a hero, and something like this, it doesn't matter what her intention is necessarily. Like, the devastation and what has taken place now is going to be interpreted so many different ways by so many different people, and the vast majority of that is gonna be pretty negative.
Yeah.
So
I like the drive-by theory. Drive-by, let's play some Highway to the Danger Zone.
yeah.
Nice
Imagine she's
article.
like, I'm here with my dragons.
Well, we
See you
saw in the
later.
last episode that when the dragon swooped over Jon Snow, that's awe-inspiring. It's just
Yeah.
that's like I didn't,
Especially since nobody has seen
Right.
dragons,
So-
with the exception of
Yeah.
who's trailing with her for so many years.
Yeah.
And they just sort of have forgotten about them. So I think, yeah, like just flying over would have been great. But in an interview that I watched online today with Emilia Clarke, she says if things aren't going well for Dany, she lets the Targaryen out.
Yeah.
And so like that was a moment where it was like she didn't really listen to what people were saying. She did her own thing, which is good. Ultimately, like for her battle strategy, it's good, but it's going to send a bad message. Even that's though they're her enemies.
Well, I've always said my default in regards to not really being 100 behind her is the fact that she always defaults to the dragons. If she didn't have the dragons and she acted this
Yeah.
impulsively, she would have been destroyed, 1,000 times by now. Anyway, let's move on. The show's creators compared the dragon attack to that of bringing an F-16 to a medieval fight. Is Dany using the dragons to their best effect? For the time, yeah.
Yeah.
In a behind the scenes, and it's on the HBO's Game of Thrones YouTube channel, they say that last episode, season 6, they showed 8 shots of Dany on the dragon, and this scene alone had 80.
It was insane.
And
Yeah.
I've never seen so much dragon action.
and they did a really good job with it. My only thought is
Some-
that why.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Dragon on Dany action, some D&D. We've come full circle, guys.
Dany and Drogon.
I like that you connected specifically with me for that. It's D&D. But why bring Drogon? Like he's the alpha. Like why don't you do a little trial run with someone?
Yeah,
who's not
Viserion. Take
necessarily-
Rhaegon or Viserion out.
Agreed.
Just for like a little swoop around.
Yeah.
He's like Viserion's green. He's cute. Like,
I don't know. It's like,
Yeah.
you're torn. It's like if you're gonna bust it out, you're gonna go hard. Well, yeah. Or do you know? I don't
Yeah,
know. Like
yeah.
the makeup-y Instagram part of me is like, yes, bold lip and bold eye. And then the war killing part of me is like, no, trial and error first. Learn how to do your brows properly, and then you can expand from there. All right, let's move on. The Bong Reese says Daenerys needed a win. She needed to show Cersei and all of Westeros who has the real power.
That's
She definitely needed a
accurate.
pick-me-up
She's-
for sure.
She has what seemed on paper to be a really great set of allies and everything, and just was
Obliterated.
essentially. Like
Yeah.
all she had left was just this moment to be like, look, I can still do this. Now, if she continues, I think that's where the issue's going to lie. But if she pulls back and kind of regroups in that way,
So
we'll see.
I want to hit the next topic because I don't know if I necessarily agree with this statement, but Dany and Jon are flirting more. Oh my God.
can't even say it. It's stuck in your
yeah.
throat.
Hurting me. I'm so against this. Dany and Jon are flirting more and more as the season continues, and people are starting to notice, namely Sir Davos and Missandei. Do you want Dany and Jon Snow to bang?
Okay, first of all, I just have to say.
I don't notice any flirting. He's just talking to
Well,
her.
here's the thing. This is like flirting for these two stone-faced, motherfuckers who are just like, I'm so reserved. I can't show emotions. I have no feelings about anything.
Point
So-
your torch over here. I'm
Yeah,
wet.
yeah, seriously, John being like, hey, is that's like him being like, I like you, maybe. I think this is one of those ones where it's just so telegraphed, or at least it feels like it's been really telegraphed based on how the Targaryens always hook up with one another and their own history and stuff. I don't want it to happen. They are aunt and nephew. It's creepy and weird. I don't care that they don't know each other. I don't care that it's half relation. I don't like it. I'm not a fan.
I don't want it to happen, not necessarily for those reasons. I just don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, you don't need even for a political reason. You don't need that merge, thing to happen that politically they do.
I actually disagree with that. I think politically it makes so much sense for the two of them to connect, because first of all, in the history of Game of Thrones, the last time they had centuries and centuries of peace was when a Targaryen and a Stark, the Stark bent the knee to Targaryen, and they decided to agree to not necessarily rule as equals, but to kind of be equals within the realm. And there was centuries of peace before Robert's Rebellion. So it does, in terms of the lore of the show, make a lot of sense, because the North is such a tempestuous and loyal place, and people are very loyal to Dany too, and they're really the only two houses that have magical abilities within them. So if you think about it, like if those two can agree, it sets a greater precedent for the realm. So I understand and think it is a very strategically intelligent move for them to even if it's a marriage of a convenience, like politically, I think it's actually very intelligent.
But he's not a Stark. They just,
I know, but he's half Stark. He is half Stark. Like Lyanna Stark is his mother. He has Stark blood in him. So I think, for me, it makes a lot of sense. I just really don't want them to smooch.
I don't think it's necessary. I actually prefer the dynamic that's going on now where she is determined to make him bend the knee and he absolutely refuses, because who the hell is she to say any of this at this point? So I find that very interesting. All right, so what do you think those mysterious cave drawings mean? Again, disagree with this statement, but did you notice how crappy the paintings were with the exception of the Night King and his walkers? I don't think that's fair. From an art school perspective, it's all about what are you trying to emphasize and portray as far, that you can't pick on cave drawings like that. Anyway, what do you think that the drawings actually meant?
I think that scene was really thematically resonant where he's kind of like, hey, look, these were completely different groups of people, the children and Children of the Forest and the First Man, and they got together to fight the White Walkers. So we should also do that.
Yeah.
And he's also like, hey, I also appreciate art. That's what he says.
And that's the romance part kicking in, right?
Part.
Yeah, that was him being like,
let me take you to this underground gallery. Only the coolest people know this.
Yeah, what a great first date.
What if because I won't say are better, but the White Walker pictures are more detailed. So I like to think that Jon went down there and he saw all these cave paintings. He's like, what if I
really nail it home?
Yeah.
He's gonna carve Jon plus Dany in the next scene.
I mean, we are going to see those symbols later on. We've already seen them in arrangement of dead limbs, I guess. But we're definitely going to see them later on, and this is the show's way of telling, foreshadowing, look out for these symbols. They've got power.
I also like that this. This doesn't really necessarily add anything per se, but I like how it proves that they were down there potentially mining the dragon glass for themselves to help defeat the White Walkers. So that's why they were in the cave, and that's why they added the drawings and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
that it has a precedent that this outcrop, or not, I guess not outcropping, but this what would it be called? Little
Outpost?
chunk of dragon glass underneath has been used for forever to try and defeat these things.
A vein?
Yeah,
a vein.
for sure.
Yes, a
I
although didn't the dragons make it because they were being kept underneath the castle, and because of the heat of their breath, that's what actually caused it to turn into the glass.
That's
so I don't
big
know.
part of
Maybe
it.
I've got this completely wrong.
I think that I love the little hints at the kind of picture that I sort of take as the winds, with it spinning, and it sort of relates to me to Harry Potter in a lot of ways, because in the end of Harry Potter, huge spoiler alert if you haven't read Harry Potter, but at the end they talk about how much this could have been Neville as it was Harry Potter, because it's sort of like circumstance and your choices that you make and how you rise into a position, not necessarily that was completely predestined for you, but there's a destiny that you play a part in. And I think that with a lot of those symbols, with the cyclical nature of them and the way that it's the wind moves and I think connecting that to prophecy and what hopefully we'll see with Samuel next week in the Citadel is this stuff and the long night, these things are going to happen regardless of who is necessarily in power, but there are either magic or religion or what have you, sort of helps people direct themselves towards what their destiny can be.
See, I actually saw it, because I can't remember if I'm going to be right on this or not, but the spiral symbol, it's been used, it's actually out there in the real world. It's not just in the books. And if I remember correctly, it's this cycles of life. And so to me, when I looked at that, I was thinking about Bran, and I'm like, oh, and the White Walker, the fact that they're constantly battling these, and Bran now can oversee all of time and space, and he's always been potentially Bran through all of time. I'm wondering if it's more of a reference, like no matter you're always, and how all the battles seem to repeat and be very reminiscent of the past. It's like time's just consistently repeating itself.
Yes.
And this is there's not really gonna ever be any closure for these people because, history always repeats, life always repeats, you guys are always repeating, you're making the same mistakes and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's actually, now it's all Dark Tower. How many times are you gonna hit that tower before you get it right? Somebody's gotta find the Horn of Eld.
I think you're totally right, Trevor.
Abhishek Wahe, hope that was right. This was the most satisfying episode of Game of Thrones. What do you guys think? Maybe you want to take this one?
Yeah, man, I definitely agree. That we got into the good stuff last episode, and then this one was like, it was everything. My main thing is it's finally these core characters, the main characters, finally coming together and having these discussions, because so much can happen in the background that like Cersei wouldn't know about, and like Jaime wouldn't know that Daenerys, and all this stuff is happening parallel to each other, but now they're intersecting, and they delivered, man. I loved the dialogue of the scenes, and then I also loved the overkill dragon sequence.
Actually, I'm going to bounce back to our other thing where Click My Vid says chaos is a ladder. Well, that's not about, the spirals aren't about chaos, it's about balance, and that's why we're seeing it in spiral form, not ladder form, which is why it's consistently repeating. Maybe the White Walkers need to come to kind of regain balance to the realm.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Make them all bond together again so that they stop fighting amongst themselves.
Yeah.
Winter is coming. It's always going to be coming. Chaos is, and the chaos is a ladder thing, which we heard, Brandon, I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But at one point, there's a later sort of reamalgamation of that is chaos is a wheel. And, Dany intends to break the wheel, and that was sort of a part of the thing with her breaker of chains thing. So I think all of that is so deeply entrenched in what this story actually is, as cool as the Dragons in the War games are.
All right, so Stark party in Winterfell, y'all. It's rave time. Now we've got 3 of the Stark kids in one place for the first time since season 1. Arya finally arrived at home, and she and Sansa had a lot to talk about. Did this reunion live up to the hype? Kyle, you want to go?
Yeah, I thought it definitely did. This was, Sansa keeps reuniting with people, and it's always fun. And this one, I think, because they maybe liked each other the least early on, and seeing what happened to each other, and that moment where she's like, what happened, and Arya's like, it was not great, and then Sansa's like, yeah, also not great. So like, I like that they've come together with that, and that they don't really know how to take each other. Like Arya seems kind of like bemused that Sansa's the Lady of Winterfell now, and obviously Sansa is very weirded out by the fact that Arya is like such a great swordsman now as well. So I think them coming together is really important, and how they relate to each other if they stick together as a pack versus going lone wolf with it, which I think was in the trailer. I think Arya says the pack is stronger than something else. So, so yeah, I loved it. I thought everything about, these are 2 characters that that have been like the heart of the show in a lot of ways. The Starks are the heart of the show. As cool as Dany is, and as how much as we love Tyrion, it's like we started with the Starks, and I feel like we're going to end with the Starks in some ways.
Sure.
So it was so great, and also the fact that she's like, well, Bran's also home. He's not cool anymore.
Bran is different.
Yeah.
All right, so Arya, speaking of which, also reunited with #emo Bran. He said he's no longer only Brandon Stark. Now, Sansa also tried to majorly simplify Bran's deal by saying that he has visions now. Do you think Bran, or whoever he is now, or all the Brans combined of all time, or the Three-Eyed Raven, or whatever the fuck, is actually invested in his siblings' well-being? I have to say no. I think at this point, because he sees all and knows all, like he might just manipulate certain things, but it's less about his family and more about the greater good of the world and situation. You want to go?
I completely agree with that. I think that I was really excited to hear that line when he was very ominously like, I was Brandon Stark once. I remember being him, but I remember so much more now. That got me so hyped, because Jesse Gill and I did a video last week, if anybody on the internet has seen it, about this theory about Bran being all of the Brans all throughout history, and I love this, and I think that it's totally true. He is, for as much as he is a Stark, he's a Stark in a much larger sense, and his family's well-being is not his priority at all. That's why he's so fucking lame now. But it's okay because we have Sansa and Arya reuniting, and literally it's all it's so good.
I think now it's sort of like he doesn't know how to process all the information that he has. So it's like it seems like this is not important because of all of this stuff, but he has it's like all knowledge with no action. And so I'm wondering if he's actually going to be able to
disagree about the no action part.
Yep, I was about to pop in too. Go ahead, you first.
No, I mean the him asking Littlefinger who did this belong to. Bran already knows who it belongs to. He sees everything. It was a test to see if Littlefinger was going to come clean. Also, Bran turning Mira away. He just said the right thing to make her go. He knew that she had to go, so he said the right thing. And then the last thing, giving Arya the thing. He knows that action is going to twist the knife.
But it comes across
Literally and figuratively.
It comes across as very passive. Which I guess is maybe the better
even
way to do it,
Varys is just words, and he's like a big machination of everything.
Yeah, but there's a lot of intent behind
I
what Varys says, and I guess I personally wasn't reading that much into those things because he seems so flat.
Oh, well,
maybe it's performance.
It's either performative, but I think that Amy is correct. Like, I think he's seeing things. He can't be emotional about it because the part that he has to play in all of this is so much bigger than everything else that's going on. He just has the little bits and the pieces that I think he knows he has to involve himself in, but he can't give anything away. Like if you give too much emotion with giving Arya the dagger, like here is this Valyrian steel cat's paw, and here this is very important for you. Like she's gonna be like, whoa, dude, like what the fuck does this mean? Like she has to go on the journey just as much as everyone else has to go on the journey because it's never about the destination. Anyway.
I also support Amy's theory. However, I am going to slightly diverge and say, would it have killed him to be a little bit more polite to Mira? Like listen, you can still let her go. It can still be a agreed upon breakup, but you don't have to be like so like that like
you have to
weak sauce.
You send
Thank
the dog
you.
off in the woods and then you gotta
throwing
throw
the rock.
stones.
Like
Get out of here.
Like
go
listen,
home.
man.
I never loved you. Go back to your real home.
Play your cards close to your chest, but let's learn how to. I understand you're feeling very overwhelmed with all of these sensory images, but let's just learn some politeness. Some basic politeness. All right, so Bran also was vaguely ominous towards Littlefinger, and we kind of mentioned that already, reminding him of his season 3 mantra, "Chaos is a ladder." Do you think Littlefinger is afraid of Bran, and why do you think that he gave Bran the dagger that was going to be used to kill him? Yes, Kyle. I love that you raised your hand.
So, a couple episodes ago, Littlefinger says to Sansa that knowledge is everything, and I know everything, so I can play whatever side. And he was basically saying like I'm the smartest person because and he sees Bran who legitimately knows everything, and Bran demonstrates that he knows everything. And you see this look on Littlefinger's face when he says that. He's just like, okay, well, I'm sorry I bothered you. He backs out of the room because he thought he was doing something very specific when giving Bran the dagger. He did not realize that Bran was so far above everything, and so he thought he was I don't know, like trying to instill dissent between Brandon and Jon eventually because of this was the dagger that was supposedly Tyrion, blah 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 blah, in season 1. Bran's too smart for that.
And I don't think Littlefinger knows what is going on with Bran. I just think he knows that something is up with Bran.
Agreed. Yeah. And I also think Littlefinger thinks he is smarter than he is.
Oh,
yeah.
So
he thinks he has Sansa specifically wrapped around his finger.
Littlefinger's the prince who was promised.
LOL. Get out of here! I'm gonna burn this place to the ground with dragons.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to hit it, although we kind of already talked about it, we got the goodbye with Mira leaving. Nah, whatever.
Let's get to this.
Yes, we'll move on. We also got a showdown we didn't even know that we wanted. Arya versus Brienne. What do you hope to see from their dynamic going forward? I think they're going to team up. I think they're like buddy cop style, you know?
The bestest of best friends. They're going to be assassin friends.
Yeah. They're going to be so
When
many
I
good
was
friends.
watching it, I yelled out in this party, they're having the best time of their lives!
Truly, like Brienne finally that an equal, and she sees so much of herself in Arya, and you so can tell. This whole thing, I literally screamed. I like stood up and screamed, "This is giving me life!" in my apartment, like a full goober. But like seriously, seriously though,
never go full goober.
You gotta go full goober when Brienne and Arya are involved, and it's just so good. And I just can't even like. Oh my gosh, it's so great, and I just love that they're teaming up, and I love that the Stark women and the women in the North.
You know what would have been better is if they show Arya's face in a ninja move, and then they go back to Brienne and she pulls off her face and it's Arya.
Arya's fighting Arya.
She's herself. That little that smile that Brienne has at the end of the fight when she's like, "How did you learn? Who taught you that?" Or whatever. She's like, "Nobody."
No one.
Well, I love that now they're equals. She doesn't need to protect Arya anymore. And I love that Brienne goes in for that kick. That kick to me just really solidified the relationship, the good relationship I think they're going to have, because now Brienne has enough respect for Arya as an actual capable swordsman to not hold back. You know, and vice versa. So I like this. I think this is really cool. It's just a nice little cherry on the sundae
And
of that relationship.
I love that Sansa got to see just how capable Arya is now, because they both had that moment in the crypt where they were like, "I've seen some shit, man."
Yeah.
And like, you know, you both say that, like, you know, you say that to people sometimes if like a lot of stuff has gone down, but like to actually then see sort of like, oh, she must have really gone through some shit if she is this good with a sword. Like, crap. Especially that plus the murder list, which Bran totally called her out on. Was like, no, it's actually really real, instead of her being like, oh, well, no, I'm totally just kidding about wanting to kill everyone. It's fine.
Do we know, other than Cersei, who is still on her murder list?
Gosh,
She only ever lists the first couple, and
Isn't
then
the Hound is, right?
The Hound was.
She thinks
She
the Hound
thinks
is dead, though.
Yeah.
So
that's why
that'd
she
be
likes Brienne, because
something.
Brienne defeated the Hound.
essentially.
But technically, I guess he's still on it.
Yeah, Cersei, Ilan Payne.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I should have double checked this before
Is
I came
Littlefinger on it or
That's
no?
my question. Is Littlefinger on the list?
I hope so. And if he's not, he gon' die by the hand of that dagger with
I mean, it's not like
Arya.
she can't just add names.
Oh, yeah.
While she
He's
feels,
not.
you know.
Not on the list.
I feel like there's no
Will be
real
soon.
rules.
That look
really
at the end of
good.
that fight between when she looks up at Littlefinger and he's like, and just kind of
He's like,
leaves.
Yeah, good.
All right, I think we've.
Get out of here.
All right.
Yeah.
The lady's got this.
These Stark children
Baelish.
are kind of bugging me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
So-
in over my head. Whoops.
What's the deal with the daggers?
Yeah.
Well done.
A plus
Really well
Seinfeld
done.
impression.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
It was in Samuel's old book, and Bran asked who it had belonged to, but he probably meant who it originally belonged to. So what do you think is going on with the dagger? Like, what does it mean?
Well, I think Alicia knows more about the dagger than I
I
do.
have a feeling that the dagger is part of another Valyrian steel sword. I've heard some people say
like it's
that
like a segment
like an
of a
older,
old one?
yeah, like because there are a lot of historic Valyrian swords, because a lot of people can't make Valyrian steel anymore because you need to have magic and you got to learn the magic from, I think, either people in Volantis or Valyria. I can't remember. I'm sorry. Please don't get mad at me, internet. Yeah, I think it's a part of something else, and I think that we're gonna see that it
What,
plays-
Lightbringer, right? Wasn't that what
I
it's
think
called?
some people were thinking Lightbringer, but that is a very, very old piece of Valyrian steel, and I think that next week with Samwell in the Citadel, we're gonna learn a lot more about that and a lot more about what happened with that in the way past, because like. Where did it come? Like, why did Tyrion have it? Like, why was it in his family? Like, there's so many questions in relation to that.
Sorry, my mic pack just fell on the ground.
So,
How old is this? It's so old it's in a book.
yeah,
Like, that's how old it
seriously,
is.
like a rotting book.
Yeah.
It's like,
A rotting
yeah.
scroll. Oh, so that's what Samuel will find. Okay, there we
Yeah.
go. All right, so Roger Simmons in chat says, do you think that the Arya-Brienne fight is a prequel to an Arya Mountain fight?
What?
That's
That's
That's a lot.
Chat wants to see it. I'm not against
As long as Arya wins, I'll see it. If Arya loses against the Mountain, I don't want to.
I will be so upset.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to see Arya fight anyone because
Anybody.
she's gonna kick ass.
It would be cool if she did defeat him, though.
It would be really, really cool.
Especially since all the other famous, can't pull it off. I don't just think it'd be neat.
Yeah.
That this small, very petite
I mean, it would be
looking girl.
it would be a kind of a mirror of the
Yeah.
fight with.
But what's weird though is if
Liz.
you think about the statistic or the logistics, is that Arya's Arya would need to chop literally off his head. Like she
Yeah.
would have to, because everything
Or
else,
hit him in the heart with that Valyrian steel. See, this is why I
with
think
the
it might be
Valyrian steel,
important
maybe.
because he is reanimated through magic.
Yeah.
So the Valyrian steel
I
would
think
kick
the
that.
Valyrian steel.
Okay.
There could be something there. I mean, Jaime also has a Valyrian sword. So does Brienne.
Doesn't he have a
we'll
Valyrian
see.
hand? A Valyrian steel hand?
Go.
Valyrian gold.
Speaking of Lannisters, time for a Lannister check-in. Now, Cersei really pitched her future reign to the Iron Bank. Now, is she going to get enough help from Essos?
They need the money, and
Yeah.
they ain't got the money.
Yeah, they love those Lannister repayment plans.
Yep.
I think that the investment, like percentage interest, is very high. I think it's fickle. I think they'll be there until they realize the money's gone or something else happens, and then they'll go, LOL, bye.
Yeah.
They're fickle as hell.
Yeah.
All right. So we also learned that Qyburn contacted the Golden Company to help fight for the Lannisters. Alicia, what is the Golden Company? Give us a quick refresher, because I can't remember them at all.
Yeah,
Is
no
that
problem.
movie about polar bears?
It is the one about the polar bears.
Okay.
These are some animated polar bears that are going to white walk their way. No, the Golden Company is a very, very loyal sellsword company. Sorry, they're sellswords that were in Essos. They never break a contract, although they did break a contract to join in the books. So this is something that I think it's really interesting that they're bringing the Golden Company in right now specifically. So spoiler alert for in the books, the Golden Company is run by this man named John Connington, whose nickname is Griff, and he has a son named Young Griff. But Young Griff is allegedly the son of Rhaegar and Lyanna. According to a lot of people, they think that he's the actual last Targaryen. And so there's a lot of people in the books, actually Tyrion meets up with them at one point and goes through this whole thing. They completely dropped the storyline from the TV show, that there is this sort of other warring Targaryen that you really don't know in the books whether or not he is genuinely a Targaryen. And I think that he is not actually a Targaryen, and it's another red herring to sort of lay off the scent of Jon Snow. But if you give them gold and you give them a mission, they get it done. And in the books, they were actually in with Dany. They were fighting forward. They were like heading to Volantis to meet up with Dany, and then she ended up staying in Marine. It was this whole thing. There was a little bit of a kerfuffle there, but it was actually started by an old Targaryen bastard who was legitimized by his father, the first Aegon. So there's also a lot of Targaryen history there. So how that's going to play, given their loyalty to the Targaryens and this mission that they've always really had, like as much as they love gold, they're also looking for a home. So like how that's gonna play in.
So are they the counterpoint to the Dothraki that Dany has on her side, kind of?
I don't know if I would call them a counterpoint. It's sort of like the Brotherhood without banners, I would say, only they don't really follow religion. They're not loyal to that. They're loyal to purely to gold. So I would kind of compare them more in that way.
Cool. Works for me. Tyrion also showed his affection for his brother and got a severe talking to by Dany in this episode. Is there any chance that he is becoming disillusioned with Dany now that he's back in Westeros? I don't think so. I just think it was more of the fact that he appreciates that, Jaime is not a complete butthead anymore.
Yeah, I think my favorite moment in that scene of the war, which was great, or the battle scene with the dragons, is the moment where Tyrion is looking down on the wreckage, and he's like, just turn around and go, you fucking idiot. And he doesn't, and he's just like, because he knows he's like, I'm loyal to Dany, but I still love my brother. That's literally the only person
there
in
was
his
a
whole
part of
family
me
that he
that,
likes.
because you see, it happens so quickly at the end when I think it's Bran who saves Jaime, and I was like, it's Tyrion. Like I was hoping, and I knew that it wasn't.
Also,
it wasn't the
Jaime, come on, you're better than this.
Yeah.
You know that dragon's not that hurt. He's got a little sliver in his arm. What
Unless
are you doing
there's poison
charging?
on that, that's the other thing. If there's
I don't think there's poison on it yet.
Okay.
I think maybe later.
I really hope not.
All right, so at the end of the episode, Jaime Lannister's fate is in question, I guess. He's going to be alive. Is he alive?
He's so alive.
Dead?
Yeah.
Captured? Well, maybe.
Captured.
Did he deserve to die for charging a dragon? No.
I mean, he
Dude,
was,
I can't even ask
he was
these
very
questions
stupid,
seriously.
But it's in the. I mean, I give him a pass because in that moment, like everything's like shit has hit so much of the fan that.
And in
Like if you
fairness
got
to
a
him-
shot, take it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he's probably crazy. Like I can't. I mean, I've never been in war, but I imagine your brain isn't. It's like not working right.
Oh, you think he just saw the advantage
and was like,
and was like knee-jerk reaction because he's been trained. So I'll support that.
Cut the head off the snake kind of thing.
I totally agree.
I support that.
Yeah.
All right, so assuming Jaime survives, he does.
Because if he doesn't, then he's a useless character.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
That's-
why
that's
would
the
you
answer.
build up such a 180 and like character arc of like
because Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is nothing if not slavish to the Campbell.
All right, so do you think that with his potential survival, that this is going to lead to a Tyrion-Jaime reunion?
Well, they're definitely in a cross paths.
50-50.
I think they're definitely in a cross paths. I think that we will see Jaime and Tyrion and Cersei and Dany at the Dragon Pit later on, which is something you can read. If you don't know what the Dragon Pit is, look up History of Thrones.
It's a really
on
cool
Nerdist.com.
bar.
It's a dope bar. They've got great drinks, the heavy pour.
Yeah.
But I think that in the end, I truly do think that Tyrion will end up going back to Jaime's side if they can't get Dany to get have her rein in her sort of emotional outbursts and how she fights.
Here's what I think. I think Jaime's definitely going to live. I think it's a 50-50 shot, but most likely he's going to be captured by Dany's side, and Tyrion's going to keep him safe-ish, enough safe. I don't think they're going to send word back to Cersei that Jaime is alive. I think Cersei, based on whatever survivors are left, is going to assume that Jaime got burned completely into ash by the dragon, because last he was seen was he was charging, and that's what's going to make Cersei go full on Mad Queen bazonkers, and that's when it's really going to be like crazy pants time. And
I want to see in the next episode, because he's in plate mail. That thing is going to the bottom.
Yes.
So I want to see Drogon snatch him up.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
That would be so cool.
Because I can't get out of my head how he's going to get out of that weirdly deep thing that was just happened to be.
I wonder though if they're going to even show it, if they're just going to explain it as a backstory. If like he's going to wake up in a dungeon somewhere and Tyrion's going to be there and tell them what they did, rather than show it.
Like a reversal of the
Because you know what?
Blackwater.
That's CGI. That shit's expensive, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Stephen, for agreeing with me back there, by the way.
All right, so here are some other tidbits that we noticed. Now is the time, since I already kind of jumped the gun and gave my crazy theory, for you guys to pitch your crazy theories for upcoming episodes, regardless of evidence. What is your personal pet Game of Thrones theory? Amy, go.
Jon Snow is going to warg into the dragon.
Damn. Amy, when you go hard.
I have been waiting for Jon to warg since he was dead. I always thought that when he died, that was how he was going to be saved in book 5 at the
In
end.
the book,
when he dies, I was like, great, he's not dead, and the reason is because he wargs into that
ghost.
hawk. Or I thought there was a hawk
hawk.
that was flying around with the bone-wearing guy. So now I think he's got to warg into a dragon.
Cool.
I think that Jon and Dany are going to have to battle, and Jaime's going to be the one that ultimately kills them, but he can't end up on the Iron Throne, so it'll be Tyrion with Sansa as his wife.
That's nuts, but I like it.
It's fully nuts. They might become it might even go so far as Dany becomes a dragon queen and or like a stone man, and Jon becomes like a major white because he is kind of dead already, and it's like the two ultimate kind of evil forms of magic, for lack of a better term, end up trying to destroy themselves and could possibly destroy the realm. And then Jaime, who's had this huge arc, has to slice him down with his golden hand.
And then magic is defeated for all of time, and nothing but Starbucks starts to pop up. That's fine with me. Kyle?
I think that everything's going to fall apart, and all the good guys are going to start killing each other off, and then eventually whoever is left to sit on the Iron Throne is about to sit down, and then Gendry comes up and kills them. And goes, Baratheons forever!
Gendry!
Gendry!
You know what? Solid.
Solid
choice.
plan.
We'll take that.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
take.
Kevin Hasselbrock in our chat says, Dany will use Jaime as a trade and Cersei won't give a shit. And that's what's going to make Jaime turn sides and go full Queen Slayer.
Ooh, I would like,
like
that
that a lot.
too.
That's
Not a bad theory.
Oh,
that's
Not
a
too
good
bad.
one.
Yeah,
Oh, I'd
because
love
one
Jaime
thing,
to choose
Cersei,
correctly.
no matter how much she loves him, when push comes to shove, no pun intended, Cersei gets over things pretty fast.
Yeah.
And
Pretty
is
brutal.
Is quick to turn a blind eye to the rest of the family members.
lot of-
All right, so
Yeah.
Theon finally met up with Jon after all of these seasons, and it went about as well as one could hope. Will he be able to redeem himself in the eyes of all of the people that he has failed through the years? Sadly, I don't think so.
No.
I think he gets one more shot before he dies.
I think he
I think
has
he
one
does.
thing left to do.
Yeah, I think he can do something cool.
One noble
Hopefully
thing.
for Yara. Hopefully, I'm
Yeah.
hoping.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice.
If he rescued his sister from
sucks.
his
I want-
shitty ass uncle, that'd be great.
Yeah, I really want him to just. I just feel so bad for him.
I feel bad, but not that bad.
Yeah.
I don't know, he's kind of a shitbird.
Are the Lannisters just going to arm King's Landing with a ton of scorpions now? I definitely think that we're going to see many more, and I think they're going to be tipped with poison. I think that
Yeah.
you know, it does obviously work. One
Right.
guy
Right.
technically got it to work.
Yeah.
So,
Also, I love the idea of them being like, "Hey, Jerome Flynn, who plays Bronn, you haven't been in it a ton recently. We'll have you come back. Would you be cool with like shooting a giant crossbow at a dragon?" And he's like,
He's probably
yes,
like,
yes, of course I would."
Also, Bronn, dick on.
Oh, I love the dick on jokes.
what's
That
the
was
dick
so
on
good.
joke?
It's
The-
the name of the Tarly.
Yeah,
like the
it's
Tarly
Sam's
boy.
brother, I guess.
Sam's younger brother, who the dad sent Samwell away because he thought Sam was weak and was like, I'm giving the whole place to Dick on.
And he
so
gets
Dick off.
He gets
And everybody thinks his name's Rickon, and he always
Yeah.
says it's Dickon. And this and Bronn just laughs in his face about being named Dickon.
It was so Bronn of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, so also this was the shortest episode of Game of Thrones to date. Could they have added a few moments to show people traveling? Because apparently it is just riddled with fast travel hotspots a la Skyrim. I'm fine with it. I'm ready to get, I personally,
Yeah, let's
whatever.
get to
Let's
it.
just get to it.
Yeah.
I don't need any more travels.
We've been getting backstory for several seasons now,
Yes.
so like if you haven't been paying attention, that is kind of your fault. This is the upside I like to how quickly paced this season is that we're finally getting this gratification of like meet up and fight
Yeah.
and dragons
Yeah.
war and maybe a nice dragon and Dany and Jon kiss and like all this stuff that you're just like, come on, I need to know
Yeah.
if this is gonna happen or not.
They're taking their action figures and going, yes,
Yes,
finally.
yeah.
Seriously. That's the whole, how they plot out the whole season is Benioff, Weiss, and Brian Cogman just go, and they're nuts, and they're nuts, and they're nuts.
Although I hope that there's like, I don't actually hope this, but I think Dany needs to actually train her dragons in a fight way because
But how?
flying straight at a scorpion is no longer going to work.
No.
And so I think she's got to use like, a dragon
Serpentine!
Distract, fly in.
An
Yeah.
in-laws reference. Well done.
Yes,
Well
just
done.
learn from Rickon, the other
Dragon over
Rickon.
here, a dragon over there. Put your hands in the air, shake it air.
I love it.
All right, so let's take a quick look at what's coming up next week, which is good because I haven't seen this yet.
Ooh.
I'm not here to murder. Bend the knee and join me. Or refuse and die.
You need to find a way to make her listen.
Whatever stands in our way, we will defeat it.
Bran saw the Night King and his army marching towards Eastwatch. But things are coming.
All right, looks like Danny, I hate you.
I'm just
Looks
so
like Danny still sucks.
upset.
As long as she takes her dragon anger out on the Night King and his army.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if she does that.
Melt some undeads. Like, why don't fight your nephew? He doesn't know anything. Literally, they've been telling him all season long. Like, don't
Yeah.
be mean. Don't
Yeah.
be mean with your dragon. Ooh.
Well, so it sounds like she needs a lot of work. Anyway, things we missed this episode. Now we're getting close to the end of the season. Are we going to get the Clegane Bowl? Does anybody care anymore? I kind of don't.
I think Mike
my
Shaw
answer.
is the only person who cares about Clegane Bowl anymore.
See 'em fight.
Yeah. No, I'm still in. I love the Hound now. I love his story, and I hate the Mountain so hard. Yeah, I'd love to see either Arya, I guess at this point, kill the Mountain.
I think Arya would be more interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I know I think they're both gonna wind up fighting some White
What
Walkers.
if there is a Clegane Bowl and the Mountain wins, and Arya, like, even though she hates the Hound, like, is like, I'm going to avenge this guy who was basically my guardian for a million years. And
Could be. That'd be a nice twist. That's a nice twist. I don't know. All right, so we didn't get our wacky Euron moment. Did you guys miss him at all?
No!
I kind of did.
I need more gifs like that one of him coming down on the boat where he's like, like, I love that.
He's just so wackadoo. Like, I actually find him to be the comedy that I need.
Yeah, he's
just
the
to,
comic
like,
relief.
Yeah, even though he's a horrible individual and terribly, like, aggressive. I don't know. I think it's funny. We also didn't get our Samwell gross out moment, which was fine. What's the next worst thing that the writers can do to Sam? Bug mites eat his skin from the old scrolls, numerous paper cuts. I say paper cut with a bug mite that gets in there, lays a bunch of eggs, and then he just erupts in like a big...
Or Gilly gets a job and he has
boils.
to change a diaper.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Not that.
Boy.
And we also got a Gendry update. Apparently, he's listed in the cast on IMDb for the next episode. We're finally maybe getting Gendry back. Yay!
So I went on IMDb to look at who's directing the next episode. And I was just kind of looking at the cast list, and it's in alphabetical order, and Joe Dempsey was right up there, and I was like, what?
Man.
Oh my gosh. This makes a lot of sense because next week's episode is called Eastwatch, which is the name of the castle, which is located in Eastwatch by the sea. And how do you get to a place by the sea? You take a fucking boat. So I'm really excited.
And that's where Tormund is. And that's Brienne's lover.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. See, if we're going to ship anybody, I don't want it to be Dany and Jon. I need to see those two just go.
Yeah.
I mean, I want some filth. All that hair, all that sweat. I want to see it so bad.
What's like the Westerosi version of like, what was Real Sex or Taxi Cab Confessions starring Brienne and Tormund?
Just like, they're like going at it and he just grabs his head and smashes it into the headboard and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, yes, I want to see this. All right. So that is it for today's Talks Back, guys. Be sure to watch today's Nerdist News because we're breaking down everything that you missed in the Battle of Blackwater Rush. We will see you guys tomorrow for an all-new Talks Back at 1 p.m. PT live on YouTube and Alpha. Bye. Have a great day.
Toodles.